Well, it looks like Google has half a brain after all. Hey, what's up to all my luscious fans? It's Team Pixel's favorite reviewer here. And we have a bit of fun with that, I understand. But in reality, there are very few Google Pixel devices that I didn't come to enjoy, whether on first release or later on after they sorted out a few of the problems. The Google Pixel XL, the original, still one of my favorite devices. Absolutely love the build, love the playful design, the colors that they put on it. That blue is fantastic. The fingerprint sensor on the back, still my favorite Google Pixel design to date. The Google Pixel 2 XL revolutionized the way we think of cameras on a smartphone. Whether you love them or hate them, you have to thank Google and the Pixel 2 XL for the quality that we have on phones today. Go back and look at iPhone and Samsung images from back then, and it'll look like it was taken on a potato compared to the 2 XL. The 3 was good. The 4 had its design quirks, and I didn't necessarily like it at first. I thought there was a little bit more that they could have had there for the money, but they eventually worked it out. The 5, was kind of whatever. And the 6, I enjoyed, but they had things that they had to work out. It wasn't that I didn't like the devices. It was always that there was something quirky about them that just stuck in your brain. And also the way that Google kind of front faces with the consumer side of things and relations and how they talk to people who own the phones and treat you kind of like morons a lot of the time, then it just turns you off. But maybe, just maybe with this stuff with the Pixel 6, Pixel 7 and Pixel 7 Pro that's coming out, the leaks, maybe Google is finally getting it. I have thought that before, but maybe now is the time. So I'm not really going to get into a lot of the leaks, but we don't know anything at this point. It's all nice. It's all guessing. It was like, oh, well, it's going to be a second generation Tensor chip. Well, thank you. Okay, that's very nice. The thing that I wanted to focus in on is that they seem to be keeping the same design. And the second generation Tensor chip is part of that because they're keeping the same architecture as well. They got to get out of this habit of redesigning the phone every year. So this would be the first time in roughly 4 years where they're not just scrapping it and starting over from scratch and releasing a first generation product. No one is saying that they have to play that game where they just redesign the entire device. The 4 was a redesign, the 5 was a redesign, the 6 is a redesign, and it denies them and us the ability to have a product that benefits from small refinements. It's not the end of the world to have the same design for 2 or 3 or 4 years when you're offering benefits to the consumer because of that. So good on Google. If they're keeping the design the same, if they're keeping the Geordi LaForge design, if they're keeping the Tensor architecture, if they're keeping it relatively the same, then they can take the year and instead of working on R&D and all the rest of it to try to come up with a completely new design and having it work with Android 12 or 13 and all the rest of it, they could take a base that they've already established and try to give us a finished product on release. What an idea! What a concept! A phone that actually feels like a finished product on release. That's not just them anymore. Samsung's kind of in the same boat. Apple, for a couple weeks, felt like it was in the same boat, even though they do a typically better job at that. But it would be awesome for everybody, including the Pixel lovers, because very passionate fan base, and I give you credit. You love your Pixels, and I love them too. My Pixel 4 XL is still one of my favorite devices. It took them a while to get there, and they make a lot of unforced errors. They do things that nobody asked them to do, and then use that as an excuse as to why stuff doesn't go quite well. And then they stonewall you if you go ahead and complain about stuff. If they had built off the 4XL, maybe we would have had a better 5. If they had built on the 5, maybe we would have had a better 6. Now they're taking this opportunity with a design that I happen to not mind it. I like it, actually. I kind of like the design of the Pixel 6, but it certainly is polarizing. There's just nobody who's kind of in between on the Pixel 6 design. You either love it or you hate it, which is fine. You get people talking about it, that's a plus. That's a plus. So take that design, refine it. Sure, you could do things. People refresh designs all the time. You can make it a little thinner, you can do a curve here, or molded glass here, whatever it happens to be. That's fine. but make refinements off the device you have, update the specs, and then spend the next 6 months that you would have spent on the design and kind of cramming everything into this new design that you've come up with in fabrication and all the rest of it. Spend that extra time on making sure that it works well from day one with Android 13, that there aren't these bugs, that you can work on the little things, the user experience stuff, like the fingerprint sensor, like all the always-on display, things that you could work on when you have an established design and architecture already, and spend the extra time on the little things that you really don't get the time to work on when you're just redesigning from scratch. Because you're so busy in that year just hoping that everything works and getting it all together into a package that works, that you don't have that extra Q&A time, that extra quality control time, that you could sit there and be like, all right, this might not work, let's work on this and do these other things. So while I'm not caught up in, well, how much RAM is it going to have, what is it, because that's pure speculation at this point. But the one rumor and the one leak that I love the most is they're keeping the design. So there's a chance all you Pixel fans out there are actually going to be able to back up a lot of stuff that goes on when those Pixels releases. And we may actually get the phone and the quality and the mid-tier crusher or the flagship crusher at $600, all the stuff that the Pixel 6 was supposed to be. Possibly, if they stick with it, if they have the same advertising push, if they have the same everything that they put into the Pixel 6 and they just refine it and come out with a iteration of it with the Pixel 7, it's not going to be boring. It's going to be a phone that works. And let me tell you something. In 2022, which will be released at the end of this year, that's exciting. Redesigns aren't exciting anymore. A phone that works and that's quality and that functions as it should, that's exciting these days. So if you want to go ahead and give me the same design and say, well, maybe it's a little bit boring. No. Be boring. It's okay. Keep that design. Work on the Tensor architecture. Come out with a device that works and seamlessly with Android 13. If you got to hold off on Android 13 a little bit, a month, it's okay. You can push things a couple weeks. Not a big deal. Make sure stuff works. And I think you're going to have a very happy... You already got an enthusiastic fan base. Now make them happy. If you've made it this far, like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Until next time, have that Steve-alicious day.